Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Welcome to another edition of
Zoom in on the Halal Metropolis,
where we take a closer look at how the Muslim communities of Southeast Michigan are coping with the COVID-19 pandemic.
and today I'm here talking to Zarina El-Amin, who is an artist and an entrepreneur.
Here with me today, we have Abraham Ayash. Abraham is a Hamtramck resident, an activist, and a politician.
Today, we're joined with a very special guest. This is my brother, Abu Bakr Baban. He is actually working on the front lines of the pandemic.
I wish people could be seeing what I'm seeing in the hospital, and all our patients came in. Just like seeing this transition of like how everyone is masked and geared up, it's really scary actually. Especially going into ICU, like every room has at least like 3 IV poles coming out of it.
I swear, look, before, I'm gonna show you. Even before it started, I went and bought a mattress, like the air mattress, you know, and I put it in my room by myself. That's where I live. That's my little room where I live, you know. I pray, I sleep, I live in that room all this past 3 weeks.
Wow.
That's where I live for the past 3 weeks.
Wow.
And still I'm living by myself, because if I got it again, I might give it to my wife and to my son. It's not worth it.
We had to do a call of arms. We had to get our docs together and say, you know, I know you're an emergency room doc, or I know you're a family practice doc, or heck, I know you're just a resident or obstetrician. We need help taking care of these patients. Can you volunteer, take some extra shifts? And it's amazing. So many doctors stepped up, nurses stepped up. It was, you know, a few weeks ago, it was very, it was really all hands on deck. Everybody pulled together, and it was really great to see. And in Michigan, you know, I think data from the ISPU has shown that about 15% of physicians are of Muslim background, and this was great to see. A lot of people have come together from our own community and really put differences aside and rise up to this the COVID-19 challenge.
Just about 30 of my days I was there. Out of those 30 days, 25 of them people I personally knew died. So when you're seeing almost every day somebody die from the ailment that you have, it's really trying upon you. So I had to rely upon Allah, to work on Allah.
A song that we, just literally just put together within a week and a half. Well, I mean, like put together, you know, concept was there, and we contemplated on what was the feeling of the song. And of course it has to relate to, you know, the situation. So the song is called Necessity, which is a reminder to us that man is not a necessity in this world. If we were to be eliminated by this virus or anything, the world will go back to what it was, green and flourishing, and, you know, its own balance.
And
so,
I mean, we see that right now anyways.
So, so the results of this virus, you know, it could be coupled in with materialism, over consumption, and we fell into that, you know, that path.
And this being the manufacturing community, a lot of people work in the manufacturing industry. Of course, not all of them are open, and then a lot of them are laid off. And restaurant business depends on people coming out, and groceries, for example. I know a couple of groceries, they actually shut down. They didn't want to take any chances of, so they just open maybe like once a week or something, just so that, you know, people have a chance to, buy stuff.
A very close friend of mine, just this past week, his mother died. So we plan on doing a Khatam al-Quran, of having some of the brothers and sisters get a section of the Quran, and then we're going to gather on Zoom, all of us together, and then we're all going to like make dua and make prayer for her. That's all we can do right now. Normally we would do these things in person, but so this is a suggestion for those of you who want to stay connected with your community and also pray for the deceased. SubhanAllah, just a couple of days ago, a Volunteers the Men International, 29 years old, she died. She left behind a husband and 2 kids. I mean, we have people in our community who are dying. I know of like 4 people like who've died.
We knew that COVID-19 was going to disproportionately like impact the Black community in Detroit. We knew that was going to happen, you know, like Detroit has been abandoned and the community there has been abandoned for a very, very long time. Now, it's different when we read news articles and information that says, you know, this is a product of race. Now, I need people to understand that it's not just about race. It's basically racism. So the way that this disease, when people are saying it discriminates, it does not discriminate. More so, it's racism that's at the cause of this. So the reason we're seeing these high cases is because of the systems and institutions that are in place that are perpetuating racism.
So when I first entered Crestwood Schools, one of the goals I had with the board was to go to become a one-to-one district where every student had a Chromebook. And, you know, it was a 2 to 3 year plan, but with this pandemic, now it's become a 6-month plan. So we gathered all of our resources and we reached out to families and we surveyed and we identified which families were in high need of an electronic device. And then through gathering other resources, we have lent out 98% of our current Chromebooks to students who are in need. And then for families of whom are in need and we don't have any more Chromebooks, we also have partnered with a local printing company as well as Dean Transportation, where we're printing out packets, and Dean Transportation, which is the bus service we use, they're delivering the packets for us. So it's been a combination of things.
Wow.
And families that didn't get access to a Chromebook, you know, teachers are reaching out to them on a continuous basis via phone and conversations.
When I first moved here in the 1st of March, I was amped. I was ready to get prepared for the events we had discussed. And then 3 weeks later, on the 23rd, everything shut down. And it hit me because I was like, wow, I don't know what we're gonna do. Like, we can't go anywhere. We don't know how long this is gonna last. But what really gave me hope and inspiration was seeing how other artists were using their gifts to really just still help the community by the use of our awesome technology through the different live streams that we have by using Zoom.
So we commissioned 5 documentary photographers and 1 creative writer to create 6 chapters where we'll give them a new theme each week, and they have to create work around that theme. So this week it is We All Know Someone. So it's probably the most difficult week we would have because, you know, the writer herself has had several members of her family and friends pass away. A number of the photographers are dealing with people who either have COVID or are worried about their family. But it's profoundly moving work, and I think it accomplishes the goal we set out in that it talks about these difficult issues in a way that is more easily digestible, which is what art is there for.
Now, COVID has locked the children in as well, as far as school goes. Your children don't attend.
I'm listening. I'm talking, listening, and starting to meet.
That's fine. your children attend school at home.
They do.
So it's something that they've been used to. So it hasn't been a stretch for them.
It hasn't been too much of a stretch because they've been homeschooled, so we didn't, you know, it wasn't like they had to stay home, but we would have throughout our homeschooling time, we would do a good amount of extracurricular activities outside of home. We would meet with other homeschool groups and go on field trips and things like that, and that has definitely slowed down some. So they have been feeling that loss and just not being able to see some of those children who they would regularly, like I said, in some of the homeschool groups that we participate in, that they would regularly interact with. They haven't been able to get together with them and see them as much. So their circle of actual physical friends has been a lot smaller. And so, you know, they didn't really necessarily like that. I feel like they've become closer as a small little group of, you know, themselves, but they did miss getting together with other children that left.
I mean, I'm 33 years old, and this is probably going to be the loneliest Ramadan that I've ever fasted, that's for sure. I don't think it's going to be more difficult as far as fasting. I think the only difficult part is going to be, I'm one of 8 kids. 5 of my siblings are married. I have 18 nieces and nephews. So my house at sunset during Ramadan there's usually at least 30 to 40 people at my house for iftar. And afterwards, I mean, there's usually a lot of friends and a lot of family come over and we hang out. It's going to be different. I know we joke with some of my friends. What we've been doing is every day at like 7, 8 o'clock, we'll jump on Snapchat and do like a FaceTime with all the friends. So that way, if you're not part of this FaceTime, I'm sorry.
We will be missing the atmosphere of going to the masjid, and the excitement and the spirit of Ramadan will be missed. However, I do think that we will find ways, because as humans do, we're resilient, and we'll find ways to connect, and we'll still make sure that we're doing that.
I'm very sad. I love the social aspect of Ramadan, especially in Dearborn. It makes it so much more magical. And it makes you feel real, because when you're at home, you're just fasting and then you eat, and then there's not even Bab al-Hada anymore. Like, what do we do?
And part of it is also trying to connect people to their Ramadan. So yeah, there's social distancing, but in the same time, we want people to spiritually connect to the mosque. So we're having nightly programs that connect people to their religious institutions. So of course, everything we had to redesign, replan, re-strategize everything that we've been working on for months, especially coming to the month of Ramadan, even our fundraising event. So, but alhamdulillah, things are working out.
Yes, there's ways to give, but there's also like the question of the day, for example. And it's going to be like, what's your favorite iftar food? Like samosa, mulakhiya, like we'll ask people different questions, and we'll actually be able to get like kind of a pulse of the global ummah. So we're going to have, probably 10,000 people from 150 different countries all answering the same questions. And they're kind of silly, kind of fun. That might be nice in a Ramadan like this, where you feel locked out of your masjid and locked out of your community. But it's a good reminder that we are still part of a larger community, even if we can't go outside our houses.
We designed a grab and go dinner, which we do until now for all the kids that we don't see them in school, but we made sure that they are having access to their nutritious meals. We had a campaign. We raised a good amount of funds that are designed to support the families that, due to the interruption in their work, they are usually hourly workers, and they were fine. They didn't need our help. But then when they were laid off and waiting for the stimulus and the unemployment checks to come in, they didn't have the reserves that will carry them another week. So we had a campaign, we called it the Food and Basic Needs Campaign, where the all 100% of the money that we raised went in support of these families. And it's done in a not one time, it's not like a dinner during Ramadan and we turn our head after that. It's really the families are being assessed, and it's done in a quiet way where they get some type of an email, a certificate, and they go to some of the major shops within the community that have multiple things between food and other things, also medications, diapers, formula for the kids. They go and they pick what they need and they go home. And we are helping hundreds of families with this program.
But there's just, I think one of the challenges is like there's so many fires to put out at all times, right? There's a census, and we want to make sure we get that out there in multiple languages, and that's something that I've been personally working on in the Arab American community in Detroit, in the Spanish speaking community in Detroit, etc. And so we have been nonstop info sharing, calling, like each of our members of our team have been calling residents regularly, and we have quite a large population in the district, just checking in on folks and making sure that they know what they're up to and what's going on.
Unfortunately, the numbers do show that we have the highest in Wayne County are the communities where the majority of our Arab and Muslim members live in, i.e. Dearborn Heights, We're seeing a little bit more in Hamtramck as well. And I think part of it is the culture of where we come from. We have multi-generations that interact with each other or live in the same household. We also have many of us that are essential workers that cannot be quarantined or cannot not go to work or cannot to work in places where they can maintain that distance. So I think the advice is similar to what we give to anybody else. Be responsible and make sure that you are adhering to whatever makes sense. So let's not do these big gatherings, for example. This occasion, as much as it's dear to everybody, it can probably wait, or we can limit it. We can. It's very disappointing. I'll be honest when you have a wedding that you don't want to include everybody in. But maybe this is not the right time to do that, and maybe we can celebrate it later and once it makes sense.
Yeah. So I think like misinformation harms everybody because it doesn't discriminate. But the reason that I would argue that it impacts vulnerable communities much more is that it relies on things like digital literacy, media literacy, science literacy, and being able to kind of critically read and analyze and differentiate, is this information that's presented to me accurate or not? A lot of times people will read a headline and, take that at face value instead of reading the content of an article. And so that can cause a lot of rumors, whether vaccines are safe, whether, like some information about a political candidate. All of these things require forms of literacy that, like in communities where English might be a second language or not as strong, that's definitely high risk of misinterpretation and actually consuming this information. The moms have WhatsApp groups where things are forwarded all the time. And I'm sure we've all had arguments with our parents. I know I have, about this article actually isn't that true. And so just being cautious of how this can impact our own communities is really important to me.
I mean, when it comes to problems like COVID-19, I mean, this is not just specific to one country or Pakistan or USA. I mean, it is attacking everybody. So we said we really need to use our expertise and our infrastructure, innovation, which we have been doing to combat this problem. So we actually launched a global innovation competition where many countries participated with their innovations. That was all virtual. It was done through our DICE innovation portal. There was one team which created combined the UV technology, like ultraviolet technology, which is known to kill the germs like COVID-19, and the robots. So the robot, they called it the UV robots, which can actually go and sanitize the surfaces of hospitals and the industries and so on. So excellent projects, I mean, from all over the world. And this is how I think we can bring nations and countries together, because instead of talking about things which are different among us, we should really start focusing on things which are more common between us.
And I think that's what was really important. So it was, distributing meals, building, crisis management, having the clinic available, having a mental health staff available, doing home visiting, even if it's a knock on the door with your mask on to check on our clients. And because we were able to build this trust, I think our vaccine rollout has been going really swimmingly well. We started vaccine clinics about 3 days. Monday was our first day.
Really?
And,
That's awesome.
Yeah, Monday we saw 450 people. Yesterday we saw 630 people. So every day it's grown bigger and bigger. And I think the reason why so many people are coming to us is because we made sure that we also left room for people to walk in. Mm-hmm. Because I will tell you something. If you look at the difference between appointments, people who made appointments and people who made walk-ins, you'll realize that it's really, really important to keep the walk-ins open, because there are people who have digital gaps, language gaps, age, all these other factors that they are not able to, even picking up the phone, able to make an appointment.
Oh, I brought sheets of paper. At the end of every cup of coffee, I poured the coffee down and I've been reading the grain. But same thing, trying to document the outside, writing fragmented poetry with it. And I'm hoping I will do this series and an installation where also I wanted to create this ceramic cups where all these little fragmented poetry I'm writing, instead of the grain, it will fulfill that grain inside. And also the impact. The second part of it is the impact. Some people are impacted a lot. Some people lost their lives. And I felt our life before is just like that cup of coffee. When you pour it, it was contained. And you took it as you pleased. So the whole idea now, I want to take these and drop them. And that impact, what it breaks, and how I reform it again and reshape those forms will become like the new life after, during COVID and after COVID.